This meeting is being recorded. Huh. Okay, it's not a meeting, it's a circle. Thank you, all of you who are here. Once again, we knew whoever who needed to be here would show up tonight. Pardon me, tonight. There's still a few people expected. They may or may not show up. This is the closing program of Sacred Lands, Sacred Sites Room of Unity Week. It has been one incredible week of programs with people and groups we didn't expect at the beginning who have just showed up to offer their teachings. And this, I have a feeling that this talking circle, and that's what this is, a talking circle at the end, will be equally as powerful. It'll happen without us even trying to make it happen, just like everything has this week. Now, Michael, it seems like you're the only one being pictured. Can you switch it or somebody switch it so whoever's ever speaking is spotlighted? That might be you, Tanya. I don't know.
That'll be Tanya, not me.
Yeah. Ooh. So we have done a number of intergenerational talking circles before. This one I think is going to be a little different, and it's quite well spaced out as far as the mix of youth and elders, which is beautiful. We do have some amazing people here, and I'm sure the ones I don't know are equally amazing. We have some incredible storytellers like Shannon Crossbear, Sue Bly, and Kat Haber. And then a nice mix of young folks. This is being sponsored by, and we thought it was just going to be a Tomorrow's Dreamers event. But of course, nothing this week turned out exactly how we expected. And all of it turned out, quite honestly, better than we expected. Sue, do you want to take just a second or a minute or two and tell us what work we're doing with Tomorrow's Dreamers and why we came up with this thought? You're muted.
Yes, I am.
Yep.
Okay, and thank you so much, Jim. I am Sue Blythe here in North Florida, home of the University of Florida, the Gators. And we have a pilot project going with We the World and the University of Florida Extension that is called the Climate Collaboratory. And what we're trying to do is collect the stories of people living at this time in human history who are all experiencing the changing climate and learning to adapt and live with it and figure out how to deal with it and learn to love each other on this planet so that we can come to know each other as one human family and one earth community with a common destiny. So the vision for this climate collaboratory was to be a youth and elder climate conversation. And the way it's unfolding now is that we are bringing in the voices of all kinds of people, and the deepest joy for me is getting to know some of the Indigenous friends that have so enriched my life, and just being able to share the stories, Indigenous wisdom, and putting it together in a way that makes sense for the whole human family. And so it's my honor to be here tonight and to hear some of the wisdom.
Thanks, Sue. And whatever we do, we'll take back. Shannon is part of this group as well, but we will take back to the rest of the group for sure. Let's see. Host on this one tonight is my cohort for most of this week, even when she wasn't here. Tanya, any opening remarks, anything to share before we dig into this?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Tanya Wojtaszek. I am super grateful that this one is happening at a time where I can actually be present. And yeah, super, super grateful for that. And it's been an amazing week. And this one I have been looking forward to all week because it's just really a topic I'm interested in. I'm very passionate about creating regenerative communities. And so climate change and all of that fits right into that. And tomorrow's dream fits right into that as well. So I'm excited, just really grateful and honored to be here.
Great. Thanks, Tanya. Um, okay, good. I'm trying to watch for people arriving as well. And then I see one of our other stewards of the room, Aliane, is here from India. And I do believe she has gone ahead and decided to be here, even though it's like 5 a.m. in the morning there. So respect to you, Aliane. She is an incredible healer. And she did a program earlier today. If any of you have time, go watch that later. River Testa and the Dragon. That's paraphrased, but you'll find it that way. I'm about to put it up because I loaded it on the YouTube. So I put in the box what we had put up about this show, just a little bit for those who are listening now and those who listen later. Tomorrow's dreamers meet Indigenous elders from Australia. Maybe, we'll see. Crossing time and cultural boundaries to listen and share a magical panel discussion. Sacred places, prophecy changes, climate change, unity, water will just allow the energy to grow as we speak. Perfect ending to an amazing 4 days of empowering programs. And it is going to be. And I thank each and every one of you who are here for being here. Some of us are Indigenous, some of us are part Indigenous, and some are not at all. Doesn't matter. That's exactly the kind of diverse voice we want to hear and see. So why don't we, since we are a group and some of us don't even know each other yet, why don't we go and each one just introduce ourselves briefly, who we are, why we're here, how we got here, and what anything else that moves you. Might as well start with you, Tanya. You're right in the top queue there. I'm looking at the pictures.
Got it. Thank you. Yes. So my name is Tanya Wojtaszek. I am currently getting educated and looking into how to create regenerative communities. I've been on a lot of these events with Jim. He's been very kind to include me in those. And it's been a lot around water protection, climate change, and earth protection or environmental protection in general. And so that is sort of the capacity in which I am here. And I got to co-steward this room with several other people and Jim, and it's been just a really incredible experience. I just want to say that this Unity Week event, I had no idea really what it was coming into it. And it has blown my mind. 32 convergence rooms, over 600 events. Oh my God. And I think it's just what I'm taking away from this. And what I think is so important is that community is so important right now. Uniting is so important right now. It does not matter what your passion is, what your topic is. It's so key that we come together and really co-create, collaborate, and work together on whatever issues move us so that we can, advance faster. Because if we have many more heads and brains and hearts at the table, we just have a lot more ideas and a lot more inspiration. And so I think that's an amazing thing. And we have the support of each other. So with that, I'm handing over to the next person.
Sue, looks like you're next in the blocks.
Well, I've already had my say, and I'm just really delighted to be here.
Thanks, Sue. Jody, a new friend. You're muted. There we go.
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Jody Gustafson. I'm joining today from Southern Shoshone Traditional Territory in what's now known as Whitehorse in the Yukon and in Northern Canada. I was born and raised here. I am a settler here. I'm of Swedish and Scottish descent on my dad's side, but on my mom's side, we have Inuk roots to Labrador, mostly around Rigolet, Lake Melville area, which I grew up disconnected from, but I'm on a reconnection journey all the time. I'm one of the co-lead of River. We're an emergent nonprofit organization, stands for Revitalizing Indigenous Values for Earth's Regeneration. And through that, I'm also currently the co-lead of the Yukon First Nations Climate Action Fellowship,
Wow.
which I feel really deeply honored to be part of. It's really a way for me to, I feel like, honor my Indigenous ancestors of Turtle Island and also honor my reconciliation responsibilities as a settler here in these lands too. And I've been doing that position alongside Dakalama, or Jocelyn Joe Strack, who has become a good friend and is an incredible person who I admired from a distance for many years. So I'm really grateful, that she's here as well. And Jewel is one of our fellows in the program as well. So I hand it off there.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me here, and thanks to Dr. Ann Polina and Alexis Bunton and Janice, who kind of connected us and made this connection for
Awesome.
part of it.
Thanks, Jody. I'm going to skip Michael right now because he's blasting this thing out there. Janice.
I'm Janice Hall, and as my last name suggests, it's also my dharma, seemingly. I'm the hallway that connects people and ideas. And, I've been working in with nonprofits, UN, and I helped architect the natural products industry originally. And lately, for the past few years, I've been building bridges, hallways with Indigenous people. It's my passion. I've learned so much from the Indigenous people that Spirit has connected me with. And in particular, this past year, I've been learning much from my Aboriginal relatives, who we hope will be on here this evening. So that's sort of my short story. Also, I should mention that I am on the advisory board of an organization called the Climate Collaborative, which is a group orchestrating the power of the natural products industry to mitigate climate change. And so we work with companies to teach them how to become climate ready, climate activists, and be regenerative, beyond sustainable. And so I've also been very involved in climate science since I went to the Earth Summit in 1992, when I never had heard about it before, and I met the climate scientists there. So it's a short story.
Awesome. Thank you. Who's next? Jewel.
Hello, ye kunashin ka katuku yukhatu isok thinket kanach dakloidi ayachat. My name is Jewel Davies, and I am from the Karkaras-Tagish First Nation, and I'm joining here today from the traditional territory of the Kwanlin-Dan and Ta'an here in Whitehorse. And I am one of the fellows on the Yukon First Nations Climate Action Fellowship, and I'm really grateful to be here with everyone today. Kunashish.
Whoopala. And I'm not even going to try it. All right, I'll try. Don't kill me. Dakwalama. Not bad, huh? Okay.
You got to try.
Yes.
Yes, well done. So ING, Dakalama Uye, Kwanlin Ninja, Agunda Ije. My name is Jocelyn Jostrack, or Dakalama, which means white spot mother. I am from the Champagne and Asia First Nation of the Yukon Territory in Northern Canada, sort of next to Alaska. And I am the co-lead of the Yukon First Nations Climate Action Fellowship with Jody. and very honored to be so. I'm also the Indigenous Knowledge Research Chair at our new Yukon University, which a role that I've been in since January. But it's very humbling and wonderful to be sitting in this circle with all of you today. Wasn't really too sure what I was coming to, but it's wonderful to hear sort of ideas of, just the spirit will bring us around, and, the space will be what it's intended to be, because that is very much the approach that we've taken with our youth in our climate action fellowship. We've just been very, I guess, emergent and accepting of the journey and the path. And it's just really brought us to amazing places of growth and healing and reconnection. And so that they're very focused on reconnection as climate action. So it's very rewarding, and I'm very excited to hear and to learn and to contribute tonight.
Thank you. Sister Shannon.
Anin bojo an kishnakas wabagonis anin indue maganak anin wapshkiwe. I'm greeting you. My English name is Shannon Crossbear. My Ojibwe name is Wabagonis. It means growing flower. I'm coming to you from my homelands in my story wagon on the shores of Lake Superior. I am a member of Fort William First Nation, so I'm very happy to see my sisters here and to have that representation. I'm a grandma. Basically, I just spent the afternoon with a couple of my grandchildren, but I have 13 grandchildren. And I think that's probably the biggest reason that I'm here in this conversation, is really has to do with my children and the outcomes for my children and my grandchildren. And with that, I've been in conversations this week with a lot of people around sacred spaces and what that means, and also around this concept of unity. And earlier today, or not earlier today, but earlier this week, I really was talking a lot about the water as the great unifier, and how we can come together around our water. And so being just aware of all that, I want to be in that conversation, and I also want to elevate both the issues that we need to address and the hopes that we have in our youth and young adults that are joining us in this, and also to elevate what's happened in the past so people can heal from that, especially with the ongoing uncoveries of the stories that we knew to be true since childhood. And now others are coming to understand that truth, and understanding how we can collectively heal and mend the sacred hoop of humanity, so that we can be human beings, which is what we are all meant to be. So Chimigwech, thank you for listening, and I'm looking forward to hearing and sharing. So Chimigwech, thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Shannon. And my very special friend and sister, Kat Haber. Did we lose her? Oh, no. Okay. You're on mute, Kat.
I come to you today from the land where I was born, in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. I'm here at my father's home. We spent the afternoon in the emergency room. Life, I'm very clear, can be very, very short. And it also can be very long. He's almost a century old, and his life has witnessed so many changes. My grandfather was a honorary Menominee because he served the tribe for so long. This place in Lake Geneva is in the ceded lands of the Potawatomi. I've recently launched a company called Trust Climate Action Strategists, linking the 90% of human beings who live in the Northern Hemisphere through the 80% of consumer decisions which are made by women. And there is so much I am listening for: intergenerational connection, Indigenous wisdom, and I'm grateful to be here with you, Jim. Thank you for including me.
Thanks, Kat. Blessings and prayers sent your way and your father's. And okay. Nike, tell me how to pronounce it. And you're on.
Hello, I'm Nick Jintara, and this is my son, Jude.
Jude, hi, nice to meet you.
We're coming from the south of Scotland, in a little valley in the middle of nowhere. I'm a Tibetan Buddhist, I'm an artist, and I've been living in the middle of nowhere for a long time now. My son has just come back from Glasgow, where he was at University College, which he was having a miserable time. He can speak for himself.
Yeah, it wasn't great. Yeah, I'm back here with Mum.
We came here because of the Kogi, so we're randomly here with all of you, but delighted to be. So I'm just interested to hear what everyone's got to say.
Beautiful. Thank you. That's perfect. So, do you want to talk, Michael, or are you still busy?
No, I'm good. Thank you very much, Jim.
Okay.
For those who don't know me, my name is Michael. I currently live on unceded territories of Musqueam people, Coast Salish territory on the west coast of Turtle Island. I was born and raised in the banks of what is known as the Don River of Toronto in the territories of the Haudenosaunee and Six Nations peoples. And my mother threw me back into something like this, water, after 9 months. And so that's my relationship with water. And that's how I flow and move. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Michael. Now let's see if we got everybody, or did people come in? Cindy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Jingala, Jingiwala. My name is Cindy Roberts. My Aboriginal name is Mebangari. I come from a tribe called Widjabul Wibble. It's a tribe of the Bundjalung Nation in Australia, and we have many nations, many tribes, many clans, and so I was invited by Janice and Ellen to be a part of this is in regards to the water law, right, Janice?
Not in particular, Jim, since Cindy came a little bit late, would you mind just, should we just really, this is much larger than that. This is more of a dialogue about nature and about crossing time and cultural boundaries and really listening to sacred places, prophecy changes. This is the wrap up in the sacred land, sacred sites room of World Unity Week. And Jim, why don't you add your thoughts about this dialogue, so that since you're hosting it, so Cindy gets
that's exactly right, except it's also World Water Law, because I was there with Jan and Shelley when we started doing that, and I still work on that. So it's a crossover, I think, between sacred land, sacred sites, and water, and a lot of other things, climate change, unity, absolutely.
I put World Water Law into the chat there, and at some point I'd like to discuss that, because we're putting together a global Indigenous Wisdom Council for World Water Law.
Good.
So go ahead, Cindy. You got a little sense of it, and it's a little bit, more free form than some of the other sessions throughout the week. This is more of a talking circle.
Yeah. Boogabear. Look, there's a lot going on, all throughout the world and everything like that with a lot. When we talk about culture, as a woman, I struggled to rebirth the our women's cultural rights. I'm a woman that takes a stand against, because of past patriarchism and everything like that, as the women of the land, and as a woman of water law, that holds water law, my tribe, like the Widjabawaba women, we hold the water law. And I struggle in areas when it comes to culture, because I'm always out on country and I'm always fighting for our cultural heritage, and I'm always fighting for our women's side. And, I'm encouraging and trying to empower our women, to take that stand because of past history. A lot of the women fear, and they struggle with a lot of the men. I'm not being thick, but I'm just saying that we struggle in a way where I can't sometimes speak, because our sites have been overpowered by the men, and they've taken over the women's sites and the women areas, and it's like you can no longer speak. But I'm breaking that cycle, and I'm standing against it, and I'm protecting sacred sites, and I'm encouraging the women to speak, and I'm treading on a lot of toes, but it's not that I mean to, but I know that I have a responsibility from my ancestors, my grandmothers, my mothers, Warren Yiniga and Nungale, Najingale, like they all, I can feel them. They've been calling me for a long time, and I decided that I was going to walk, because my ancestors, in protecting country, in protecting the water, protecting the land, and just everything, protecting creation, protecting the animals. So, I play a big important role now within my country and the surrounding communities, protecting other tribes, lands and everything. So, yeah, I could talk about a lot of
Good.
things, but
That's
I just
good.
wanted
That's
to.
great. That's awesome. Thank you very much. Very beautiful.
So, yeah, I just wanted to say, Garama, and thank you for welcoming me to this space.
Thank you. Aliane?
I just wanted to mention to our blessed sister, you don't step on any toes, start dancing on them.
I love that. Yes.
Good one.
Yeah.
Aliane, you're on from India, early in the morning.
Hello, everybody. I'm Aliane from the foothills of the Himalayas, from a tribe known as the Lepchas. And my name means the shoot of a plant. And after I kind of was so lost and disconnected from Mother Earth and my tribe and my roots, so I'm on this journey of searching for where I come from and about learning what my ancestors have to say. And I come from a lineage of female shamans, and that is something that has been calling me for a very long time. And I'm ready to walk that path now. And I am an artist and a designer by profession. But what I really like doing in these platforms and these opportunities help me to do is tell stories using art. And that's what I've been doing, collecting stories of my people and of Mother Earth, and being able to speak about it and share it and remind people to reconnect and to remember and to be present in their hearts. And thank you for having me here. I'm here to listen more than anything today. I'm here to listen and learn.
Beautiful. Thank you, sister. Yeah, I think I saw Mimi. Was that? Yeah. Okay. You're muted, Mimi.
Hello, everyone. My name is actually Suzanne. I'm from Calico. Share the same lineage as Alien, and we've been working together for the last 8 years. I have been a guided mentor to her, and we are trying to collect younger generations of our tribe who are, most of them have converted to Christianity. So we are trying to get them to adjust our roots of shamanism along with Christianity and how to use it without getting it into a specific religion. So I'm glad to be here because Alim invited me, and it's really, really lovely to hear all of you talk about the various sacred lands because we share, how do you say, I think we share similar stories all over the world. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you very much. Wow. Okay, I'm Jim Gray Wolf Petruzzi. I'm a mongrel. I'm Romany Gypsy. My grandmother was a medicine woman in northern Italy and southern Switzerland before she came to this country. And she told me that I was the one who would carry it from there. No one in my parents' generation inherited that. I also have native blood, so I am a member of the United Western Lenape tribe out of Kentucky. And I'm adopted by a Lakota family, and I'm adopted by my Mayan family. So, like I said, I'm a mongrel. I spent a lot of years, probably 30 plus, ouch, um, living with and learning from a bunch of different elders. So I feel blessed that I have a mix of teachings, and I feel like my job is to just make sure I give out everything that I learned before I step off. So that's my journey so far. I'm thinking, wow, I mean, I'm just absorbing on this. What a pleasure and an honor to be amongst all of you, everybody here. What incredible stories, just like it's been all week. Someone said they came because of the Kogi. Yes, boy, was that powerful. Today we had an Apache person come and talk about Oak Flats, also under assault. We have our friends, it's 3 a.m, so they didn't come, from the Stonehenge effort, which is under assault. And on and on and on. All week it's been like that. We are here to wrap this up. We are here to put a nice bow on top. And I think the best way to go ahead now is, it seems to me we have an incredible group of young people here. And I'm so thankful for that. I'm trying not to get this big smile, but it's coming. Um, why don't we turn this to the young people to ask questions or say what they have to say? And then some of us with whiter hair can respond and we can see where it goes from there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's
Good.
a great idea.
So any of you who are young, and I'm not going to say who that is, you can self-choose yourselves.
But
Yeah.
Jim, if I can say too, in sort of the theme of this as tomorrow's dreamers, from your perspective of who you are, your lineage, and what is your dream, and let's set the tone with what we wish the world to look like in the future, and then maybe we could go back and talk about the challenges that are there to keep us from getting there. But if we talk about what we want first, that would be great to set
We can
the tone.
do some of that if that's what you choose. I want to leave it open to the young people to be able to ask whatever they want. You've got a lot of people here who have been around a long time, done a bunch of things, made a lot of mistakes, which we'd be happy to share so you don't make the same ones, whatever. I like that though. We can think about, and Sue is smiling because we've been working on something just around that. What would we have done 50 years ago? What would we do 50 years from now? So if you want to, you can take that up. If not, yeah, no wraps around this package. So any of our young ones, who wants to take it?
I guess I'll start.
Okay. Jewel, right? Yes, Jewel. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, so to Janice's point, just about what we hope our futures to look like. I guess I started forming this idea once I'm also going into my 4th year of the Indigenous Governance Bachelor Degree program at the Yukon University. So at the beginning of this program, I guess I could say that I was very disconnected from definitely our lands and also my Indigenous culture. And now that I have been educated and received the teachings that I have, and especially through my experience with the fellowship, it's been like an incredible experience. I could confidently say that I hope that our future involves our heavily dominant Western systems and worldview kind of shift, and we see more Indigenous worldview just in our world in general, but also as a foundational basis in our systems and processes that we see today. That I think that would be amazing. I'm very passionate about Indigenous worldview and the values that we hold as Indigenous people, and I think that these need to be expressed, and Indigenous people need to be reconnected with these values and these ideas, because I feel like as a young person, growing up my whole life in Western systems, in our Western society, before I entered into my degree program where I could illuminate these worldviews. And also the fellowship has been a huge teaching of mine to help me illuminate these worldviews, I guess, and the worldview that I'm in, and also the Indigenous worldview, which I had, it was in me, but it was kind of, I was disconnected from it from going through these systems my whole life, I believe. So yeah, the fellowship's been an incredible reconnection journey for me. I'm very grateful for it. It allows for Indigenous teachings, which I think is super important because you don't like find that anywhere really, I think. And yeah,
Good.
some of those teachings are just like whole personhood, and to look at ourselves and make ourselves mentally and spiritually healthy, which our world today doesn't account for a lot of the time. And I think that in healing, we're taught that within healing ourselves, we then can in turn heal the land. So we need healthy people to have a healthy land. And to me, that means just building and fostering our relationships with ourselves and others and the community, and most importantly, the land, and the idea that we're not actually disconnected from the environment, and the environment's not outside, and we as humans are like inside, but we are one with the environment. We are all spiritual beings. The land has a spirit, animals have a spirit, and we as humans have spirit. We're just in different forms, and we need to reconnect with this idea, because once we form and foster this different relationship with our land, we're gonna treat it and respect it in a different way than our processes in society do today.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good. That's a mouthful.
That's what I have to say right now.
That's a lot. I see I missed 2 people. We'll go back to them in a minute, and I apologize. Who wants to take that? What elder wants to grab that? Or older person?
Can I say something to Jules?
Yes. Go ahead, Cindy.
Jules, as a young Widjabul Wabble Dubai of the Bunjalung Nation, as a young woman, I grew up in Christianity, and I was told that my culture, that you couldn't practice your culture, that your culture was evil. So I was brought up in a society, and I think we can all relate to it throughout the world. And as we grew up, as I grew up in the church, and like in my language, we call the creators, like we called them Tungale Najangale. And as I started growing up, the creator started talking to me more and more, because I had a deeper yearning and had a deeper wanting to know who I was as an Aboriginal woman. And it just didn't feel right, because there was a part of me that was missing, and it was my connection to country. So one day, I've had a lot of encounters with my ancestors, and I couldn't ignore it anymore, that I decided to walk the path of my ancestors. I wanted to know the deeper inner, I wanted to know the truth, the deeper inner truth. I wanted to know what this yearning was. I can't describe how I am right now, because now I'm a woman caught between two worlds, because a lot of my people are Christian, and I no longer choose to walk that path because I found something even greater, where they told me things were evil, that I couldn't practice them. But now my ancestors are appearing to me. I find it hard to ignore them now. You know, I can hear the trees speak. I hear the water speak. You know, I hear the earth speaking. Mammon, you know, like I can't ignore it anymore. So they tell me about this, that they got this one God. What I discovered, that I have creators that are mother and fathers. Can't ignore my connection to my country that's calling me for a greater calling of listening to the spirits of the land, to listening to the creators. You know, my ancestors. It's, you know, especially when you have your ancestral, you know, angelic ancestral beings appear before you, telling you you're on the right path, you're finding your truth. Yeah, it's powerful. And I struggled.
Awesome.
I struggled in that. Yeah, now I'm reconnecting, and I'm educating about my culture and the connection to land, about everything what you're talking about the spirits. You know, everything has spirit, and you're right, everything does. There is nothing that was created upon this earth without spirit. So yeah, I know where you're coming from, and I feel that strongly, and I just wanted to, yeah, but now I'm a woman that walks nothing but in her culture and with her ancestors and with our creators. So I just wanted to share that, Jim. Sorry.
Thank you. No, sorry. No sorries are allowed here. This is perfect. We share, I hope, we share whatever we need to here. We'll get in as many things as we can. I want to backtrack though, because I missed Carol. I don't know how I did that. Carol and I have been in half the groups today and other days. Carol, I'm sorry. Come on and tell us who you are and why you're here. Is Carol still here?
I think she might have left.
Oh, I think she did. And then Dan Atkins, he must have come. Dan, you must have come on later, because I don't think I saw you. Would you like to just say who you are, why you're here, and what's your favorite soft drink?
Yes.
No.
Welcome everybody. Jingala Cindy.
Yeah, Jingala Boogie.
Yeah, nice to see you on. And I'm here in Australia. I'm currently in the north of Australia on Wurrungu country. I've been working with the tribes for about 7 years, sort of helping on the sovereignty, protecting sacred sites, and working with Janice behind the scenes on things. And it's a real pleasure to be here. And I'm really here to listen to the stories and just connect into family, global family. So it's really beautiful to be here. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you're here. Okay, let's pull up another young person. I'm joking. I hope you know that.
I just wanted to say Ganesh Cheese to Cindy for sharing that. I really appreciated it, and I appreciate your passion, and it's really good to see. And I feel like I also felt that, like my ancestors pulling me onto this path is like, I felt like I wasn't supposed to be in this system, like living like this, like so disconnected from the land. Like I felt it within me, like pulling me back, and I could definitely relate to you on that. And I just want to say, yeah, Ganesh Cheese.
Good sharing. You know, I think probably many of us could say that. I started out Catholic. I was told that my family was Italian and that's it. Only my grandmother spoke the truth, which I didn't get confirmed for a while until I did DNA tests for fun some Christmas. I didn't feel right in religion. And that's not pointing a finger. It just wasn't for me. So until I found a spiritual road, and then I realized walking the red road was my way, I was just completely felt like half a person in many ways. And so I think that's something we'll have to walk through. I think right now what we're doing is we are creating our tribe. It's one tribe, it's global. I mean, just look at us here tonight. It's amazing. So that we can do the work that's needed to bring about the kind of earth that my elders told me we had the opportunity to create now. And I think we'll do it. I think in many ways, I think we've already done it, but we have to act it out or we'll lose it again. So thanks, Jewel. Awesome. Okay. Any other young person want to step in and ask something, say something? No one has to be politically correct here. You're not going to offend any of us.
Hi. I'm
Yeah.
Jude. I'm just completely quite in awe of the last couple of Zoom sessions. I'm just quite privileged to kind of be around here and just listen to all these stories. Just because I'm not really someone who's got like that much kind of in-depth knowledge about any of this, but I definitely know that from living in kind of the modern Western world and living in like cities and stuff like that, how deeply toxic and rotten to the core everything is. And it became so apparent in COVID times, like everyone living in these tiny little kind of bubbles and not really interacting with anyone, everyone just becoming these little islands in this massive metropolis. And people kind of just becoming so kind of disconnected, not just from the planet, but from everyone else. And I feel like the only people who have got any form of sanity are the indigenous peoples who have actually kind of stuck to the land and sort of they understand nature and they understand the kind of the rhythms of nature and all these kind of things, which I think that we are in desperate need of. So yeah, I think you're incredible. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah, I agree. And when I do these things, each time I learn so much. So I've been around a while. I've earned this white hair. I've been taught a lot, but what I know is this much of that whole. So that's something you will always experience. I think the trick is to value what you do know. And you know in your heart lots of things. You just spoke them. That's what's important. And then follow that wherever it goes. Anybody else want to comment?
I can go, I guess.
Okay. Sure.
It's kind of interesting because I work with so many people that are much younger than me, but in this circle, I can identify as a younger person. Yeah, I'm not that young. But I do want to follow up on some of what Jewel shared, and I sat here as such a like proud auntie listening to her speak, and as I do with all of our young people when they speak, it just blows me away. And with the fellowship like that Jody and I have worked on, a lot of what we've tried to offer is just validating like the safe space to reconnect and recognizing that within our systems there's so many limitations and active barriers to reconnection, such as not being able to like acknowledge spirituality within our culture, or particularly within like our boardrooms or our classrooms, and let alone spirituality, even like just emotion, like your heart and the role of your feelings in everyday life is like numbed and brought down. And so in the space that we hold with the youth, it's just really, I feel like it's been super rewarding for them to just be within safe, accepting space of like-minded young people. And like as across the world for Indigenous people, our communities really struggle with like the repercussions of colonization, of being removed and disconnected from the land and educated like through the residential schools. And so we still harbor like a lot of trauma and dysfunction and hurt. And our fellows, like things like anxiety and depression and lateral violence and addictions like are all part of the conversation. And but the answer, like, so they're charged with coming up with a plan for climate action for Yukon First Nations, but what they're seeing, what they've come to understand is that reconnection with like spirit, self, each other, and the land is climate action. And so they're creating this vision that they're still working on that sees us as people like living, as Jewel shared, like as whole people and living, you know, harmoniously with each other and being able, as Jewel said as well, healed so they can take care of the land. And so they're really trying to identify the pinpoints within our institutions, like such as education, our governance systems, our economy, where there's like direct barriers to reconnection, and then also opportunities for reconnection. So education, for example, is huge. I would love to see like our education systems teaching our children to be whole people, teaching them to like sow, grow, build, and to like have the basic skills of life. Because right now we pump them out with just like thinking with their heads and having no idea how to access like their hearts and all of those who came before them. And then I would love to also see like our communities much more oriented around like food production, as we once were. Like our entire culture was about food before. But yeah, we'll see what they come up with. They are working on this plan, but we're also producing a film. We've been wrestling too, even with like the mandate of a paper-based deliverable, and just like how, you know, they end up on shelves. And to me, the real deliverable is the youth. They are the climate action. You know, it's paper, whatever. But you know, there's just so much exciting things to come out of it. And really, we began with just like broadening their worldview and like bringing them inspirational people. And we set no expectations at the beginning. It was just like, just grow and heal and like connect with each other. And, you know, it was a very soft pedal. And so, yeah, it just, it's been, like Jewel said, like, it's been really rewarding for them. And I think that education for so I'm trying to bring it into the university as a real offering, like a normal credited offering, that you can become a whole person through education. I just wanted to share some of that.
Yeah, good. That's good. Wow. You know, the age thing is an interesting one. Yeah, who's old, who's less old, who's young, yeah, it's really fascinating. I helped my mother cross over a few months ago. So I was working with people in her place, and all of them, or most of them, were in their 90s or even older. And they would call me young man, which, you know, just would crack me up. So we have, yeah, these various, so older and younger might be a better way to look at it. I don't know. Not that it really matters. It's sharing across the generations. I think that is the important part. And it looks
I
like
have
Eliane.
something to say, Jim.
Yeah, go ahead.
So what I really wanted to share is that I've been also myself questioning, because we want to work to help the earth, and there are so many ways to do that. And I see many people who are activists, who are on the scene and who are fighting, standing there, protecting and raising their voices and physically being present. And there are people who are speaking and singing and painting and doing so many other things. So for me, the thing of being able to be there for the earth is not necessarily being there on the field. A lot of work happens and is as important as having a voice, as collecting the stories, as going and sharing with people so many things. So a painting you make, a jewelry, a piece of jewelry you make is all important. So I feel it's important to understand that each one of us has something that our heart tells us to do, and that is our service, whatever the form may be. And it took me a while to understand that, but I do understand that. And that is important too. Everything is important, and it all adds up, and it makes the whole thing bigger. So I'd like to share that.
That's
Thank
beautiful. Yeah,
Beautiful.
you always prove that elders don't have to be older. Thank you for that.
Wisdom doesn't come with age.
Thank you. Exactly right. No, it doesn't. And I've known some young elders. Okay, so let's shake this up a little more now. I'm going to pass the hosting stick off to Tanya. So we'll go from older to younger, not old to young, but older to younger.
Thank you, Jim. Yeah, I do want to comment on what Alian just said about bringing your passion. I so fully agree with that. I think it is so incredibly important that we all do what we're passionate about, and that we follow whatever is being given to us. And I know a lot of us here are, talk to our ancestors, follow or hear our ancestors speak. And it's just crucial at this time that we step in and really do what we're being asked to do, because this is the time. This is absolutely the time. And I'm going to come back to something I said earlier too. I think it's a time to come together as well. And what we're doing here today is bridging across cultures and bridging across ages and so generations, I mean by that. And I think at this point, it's just important that we bridge all these differences, whatever our differences are, to put those together and to look to what we have in common. Because just listening to everybody speak here, there is a lot that we do have in common. And there are some things that are just like so at a basic human level that connects us. And that, I think, is what we need to tap into now. I understand there is a lot of healing that still needs to happen. I understand there is a lot history that has been horrible, and that doesn't just go away overnight or in a short period of time. And at the same time, while we're doing all that, I think it's still so very important that we learn to forgive and unite with those who are willing and available to unite. And then there is something, I forget who talked about that now, but it was about education. And I wanted to comment on that, excuse me, and say that I so agree with education has to start at a young age, right? And this disconnection from nature that it sounds like the majority of us have been experiencing. I know it certainly has been true for me as well. And I have had to learn to reconnect to myself, to nature, and to everybody around me, to be able to take action in groups and to be able to unite with others. And so, yeah, so I think that's another thing we have in common, and that is so important to teach at a very young age. And I would love to see, when we talked about dreaming into being, I would love to see young people really, like from a very early age, to be involved in the dreaming, because I think the younger we are, the more we're still connected to a different realm, and the more we still have the ability to dream without all the impressions that have been put on us. So I would love to just see the ideas that will come out of young people and what we can create from that. And one other thing I would love to see, as I just spoke about that yesterday morning in a different room, is that we measure differently. That we measure success right now by looking to money, by looking to accumulations and all that kind of nonsense that doesn't really serve anybody. And what we need to be measuring is the health of our people and the happiness and the joy level of our people, right? Those are the things we need to, I think, be looking to versus money and accumulation. And I think I have talked enough. So I just wanted to see, does anybody want to comment on anything that the last few speakers have said?
Can I just say something?
Yes.
as you're talking about, this week coming up is National Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Week. I don't know if you've heard around the globe, but this we got that special week coming up for about the acknowledgement of Aboriginal culture and all throughout Australia this week coming. Throughout Australia, a lot of the tribes, they all get together, each tribe, each clan, each nation, and put together, they showcase all their talents, their culture, dancing and everything. So in Australia, we got National Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Week coming up. And that's what's happening now, and it's big throughout this country. The theme this year, because every year we have a theme, the theme this year for National Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Week is Heal Country. And I went out and I went and visited a school and I spoke about country, and I spoke about, they wanted me to come and talk about Heal Country, for NADOC at one of the high schools. And I said to these young people, I said, healing country is also about healing yourself and connecting, you know, your connection to country is a part of that healing, you know, and because you can't heal mother if you're sick yourself, you know, unless we reconnect to her so we can be healed, you know, and we heal with her, you know. Warang, we call her in my language, we call him Warang, you know, and she's crying out, you know, and I really feel that it's important that we all heal with her, you know, and I know that there's a lot of, yeah, so that's the theme. It's about the theme this year for National Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Week is Heal Country. Yeah, I think we all need that healing, and we're all healing with her, but at the moment we need to save her, you know, we are her children. But and I feel, yeah, I just wanted to share that. I don't know why I was just, but I just wanted to share to you guys to tell you what the importance and how special this time of the year is in Australia for all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Right now, it's all happening. So yeah, and
Thank you.
about healing country.
Yeah, thank you for that. It's so, you're so right. It's so important. I'm glad to hear that is happening. Thank you so much. Shannon, I see you have your hand up.
I do, but actually I was putting my hand up for someone that's joining us, and I'm gonna let her go ahead and introduce herself and see what she has to say to all of us. So
thank you, Shannon.
Yeah.
Shannon, we can't hear you.
Okay. I mean, my grandchildren, I'm coming to talk with you. I've been listening this whole time to what you're saying about sacred spaces, about where you come from. And it made me think about something I want to share with all of you. So my name is Born in a Cloud of Smoke. I was born on an island in the middle of Lake Nipigon, the province they call Ontario in Canada. But I'm living here on the shores of Lake Superior now. But I want to talk to you because I see all you young people here, and every single one of you is a young person. This is just a speck of time that we spend on this earth walk. But before you came here, our teachings, like that young lady said there, about the world relational view, about all of us, our physical being, our mental being, our emotional being, and our spiritual being, that we have to attend to all of that. So some of those things that we had in place, we can bring them back. You can bring them back. Things like the welcoming in the womb ceremony, Before you even got here, we had a ceremony called Welcoming in the Womb. So we went to that woman who was carrying that child, and we said to them, we said, we're going to take care of you. Come. We're going to take care of your mom. We're going to take care of her while she carries you, because we want you to come and join us on this earth walk. Yeah, that's what we did. And so everybody would take care of that mom when she was carrying that baby in the water, in the womb, going from the water to the physical being. And we prayed for her and we made a commitment. Keep bad things away from that mother. Give her good food to eat. Keep bad thoughts away from her, bad happenings, so that that child comes in and knows before it even comes how welcome it is to be part of this earth walk. And the next thing that we would do once they got here is we would make sure that they got taught those things. You know, so when they first got here, they're not here really. They have a soft spot on the top of their heads. Every one of you had a soft spot on the top of your head. And when you had that soft spot, you were still related to the spirit world. You knew what your purpose is. But as that soft spot closed up, you forgot. You forgot. So we're here to tell you, to help you remember, what were those things? And no matter where you come from on this earth, on this big blue planet, this water planet, you have those teachings. Maybe your elders are not still with you physically. Maybe they're not walking on this earth walk in the same way, but they're here. They come to you in your dreams. They come to you in your prayers. They come to you in gatherings like this when you begin to inform each other, to tell each other these stories. These stories, whether it's about Turtle Island, whether it's about the Star Nations, those stories aren't just stories. There's a reason that we were told was to instruct every one of you. So I'm glad to be here, and I want you to understand we're talking about sacred spaces. We talk about the sacred spaces on this earth, but we need to talk about taking care of the sacred space of us within us, because that spirit moves through all things. And I got to hear some of you this week, this Unity Week, this talk about sacred spaces and sacred land and water. Because until we have that unity, we don't have the unity we need to create a world that works for everyone, that works for you, that works for me. That is what we are here to do. So I just wanted to say thank you for letting me speak a little bit. And Jim, he promised me cookies the next time I come and talk, so I'm going to keep him to that promise. I don't like to talk without cookies. All right, Gigawabaman, until next time.
Thank you, young friend, for contributing. That was really beautiful. Thank you, Shannon.
You're welcome. Yeah, she has some things to say, and I just wanted to acknowledge. I got to hear some of the others on this call that spoke earlier and shared their stories, and I'm so grateful because those stories aren't just stories; they're guides for us. And I think we get challenged by our Western kind of what's happened to our minds and our colonization. And it's a process to know that we're all in this process of decolonizing our minds, right? And our hearts and our spirits. And sometimes we're walking along and we don't even know that we're acting in a colonizer way. it's been so much pressed upon us. And so these kind of opportunities to remind us that there's a different way to do things. There's a different way to educate each other. There's a different way to come together and share our stories, share our joys and our hopes, but also our sorrows, those burdens that you talked about, Tanja, that was just those burdens that sometimes get in the way, right? And that we need to heal from those. But we also need to have joy in our healing, that we can have both joy and sorrow, and they're separate things. And one could, because sorrow is sacred too. When we grieve and we're sorry, we feel that's a sacred space. And we don't have to give up the sacredness of that space of our sorrow. And we can still have joy. Because our joy does not diminish our sorrow. But neither does our sorrow have to diminish our joy. And I think that's something that is a learning for me in my life. And I continue to learn that. So I'm so glad to be with all of you tonight and to be able to share this little space and time. Chimigwach, thank you for listening.
Thank you, Shannon. I think you brought up such an important point with the sorrow and the joy and having both, because I think once we start, suppressing any of the feelings, we really suppress all of them, and it takes our life force. It really sucks that right out of us. So I think it's so important that we do have both and express both. Thank you for bringing that in. And Jody, I see you're unmuted. Did you want to comment?
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, miigwech Shannon for what you shared there. And yeah, I just wanted to, as my Maori partner would say, to totoko you, or to support what you said there. I really liked how you framed the importance of storytelling and of emotion and spirit. And I think that what we've been trying to do in the Yukon First Nations Climate Action Fellowship and in a lot of work really is focus on emotional and spiritual well-being. I heard a woman from the Amazon recently speak about, in Western civilization, this spiritual poverty that so many of us face. And I think that's a really powerful term. And I see so many of our sort of climate solutions so obsessed and focused on greenhouse gas emissions and on these kinds of things. And I really liked how you brought it back to the importance of storytelling and of ceremony and of things like berry picking and making dry fish, or like those kinds of pieces. I'm excited to see more solutions stem from that place and come from that place. We had a really interesting speaker on, Dr. Lee Brown, a Cherokee elder, who spoke about emotional competency to our fellows, and it was so helpful. And I think it was, I think too, another thing, just when we're talking about age, I have to say, even as a co-lead of the fellowship, I have learned just as much, if not more, from the fellows than the opposite way around. Truly, really. And I find so many times I have incredible elder teachers, but also really incredible youth teachers and beyond human beings. Like, I think sometimes watching a freshly born calf like find their footing, like a caribou calf or something, like there's such good teachers, some of these young ones. And so I think that I guess I was interested too. I think that Alian, I heard you speak in your introduction about the importance of storytelling, and I know Dakalama has done a lot with storytelling as well, and I think you mentioned it as well, Mimi. And so I guess I was just interested in hearing people's perspectives around their experiences with storytelling in that role with reconnection.
I do want to just respond to Jody, because earlier today I was talking to people about, because of what you were talking about, you can't disconnect storytelling You can't disconnect storytelling from climate action because it's with, and you can't disconnect it from spirituality. The reason the Ojibwe people live where they live is because they were instructed to go where the wild rice grew upon the water, where the food grew upon the water, which is wild rice for us. We're the wild rice people. And you can't have the wild rice if you don't protect the waters. And you can't have a source of life if you don't feed that life on a physical level. But it's so much more than physical. It's a spiritual food, right? And so when I see what's happening in terms of our indigenous reclamation of our food sources, our indigenous food sources, for example, or how these are the ways that we start to reclaim our own ancestral knowledge, medicines. You know, it's like, it's trying to talk about food like it's not medicine, or water like it's not medicine, or, you know, like they're in some kind of separate little category, which is what that colonization does, is pulls things apart. And one of my friends, Sonia White Plume, always says, you know, it's like people don't understand. They live in a big house, but they all are living in their separate rooms and they're closing the doors. Whatever discipline you're in, education, health, welfare, justice, they're all closing their doors. But the people live in the living room. They don't live in the closed doors. And so why are we not opening the doors so that these conversations aren't just happening in isolation in one discipline, but in all of our lives? So thanks. I'm so glad you're doing the work you're doing.
Thank you, Shannon. And Jim, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to, Shannon, that, yeah, absolutely agree with all that. But I think Jody touched on an incredibly important one. I've been teaching and listening for a long, long time now. That is such a big piece. I always learn more from whomever I'm supposedly teaching than I think they get from me. And I don't care if they're old or young, or even when I can't understand their language and vice versa. So I think that's something to always keep in mind. And if you do, boy, I mean, your knowledge base just goes up and up. You brought Standing Rock back to me as you said that. And when I got there, we had all people around us. We had people from different countries. And so a lot of us couldn't speak our languages. There was French people on one side. We had some people from Standing Rock on the other. We had some from Africa in front of us. We all sat around and talked, even though we didn't understand our languages. And boy, what an experience and what a teaching that was. I don't necessarily have to speak your language to understand. You know, a handshake, a hug, that speaks volumes. So thank you for that. That was just really triggered by that one.
Yeah, thank you, Jim. Alian?
So just about the storytelling part that you were talking about, it's just as an example, the story about our river Tista, and that kind of made me look at Google Earth and look at it from where the source of the rivers are, and it goes up to our sacred mountain, Kongchen Konglo. And it's not just the stories as stories and something that's imagined. I understood really scientifically that that is the source of our waters, and that is very sacred to us, and that is our caves where our ancestors came from. So it's like these stories are not only things that are beautiful to remind you of things, but they're also very scientific in their own way, and they explain why so many things exist, why plants behave the way they do, and what animals do. And so it's such a beautiful way of storing memory. That's what storytelling is. It is a way of storing memory of our ancestors, of the earth. And what is also beautiful, that it is a way in which each individual has their own way of expressing it. So the stories that were passed down from my ancestors to the person I learned it from, and the story I presented, it's different, but it's the same. And every time and every era and every time that it goes by, it will keep changing, but the essence remains. And that's what is so beautiful about storytelling. You get to tell it as you feel it and as you see it and when you do.
Thank you. I so agree with you. Do we have anyone wanting to comment on that?
I would.
Yeah, Janice.
To me, one of the reasons storytelling is so important is because climate change, for instance, there are so many people across the planet who are trying to solve the problem, but they're solving it from the same reductionistic thinking that created it in silos. So you've got the technology of, you got the agricultural people and the energy people and the economic people, and they're all creating their own little systems and technologies and solutions but they're creating them within silos. And so it's time to step back and look at things systemically, because the answers often live within the black holes between these categories. And what stories do is they weave systems together. You can't tell a story about one thing without bringing in another thing, another idea. So it threads the bigger story together. Stories create an umbrella under which you can see how things are woven together. And one of the missing pieces that I've learned so much from my Indigenous friends is not just to learn about nature, but to really experience it and listen to it. You know, when you talked about, from the Tista River, we had Milemak from the Tista River the other day, but the sacred mountain, you know, you hear Indigenous people talk about the sacred mountain, the sacred tree, but non-Indigenous people talk about the tree and the science behind it, and they feel the tree, but they're not really listening to it from their entire being. There's an Aboriginal word, Cindy, if I get it wrong, I was told, Didari, which is deep listening. And for me, that's about listening with your whole energetic field, with senses that we, not five senses, but learning to listen with senses we haven't experienced yet. And that is the kind of knowledge that I'm learning from my Indigenous friends, and that I think is so vital to impart to those in power and those who are coming up with new solutions. Because it's through that deep listening that we find how it all fits together.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you, Janice, for sharing that. I think you're so right on. We have to look at whole systems for solutions, and not just what we've been doing is slap a Band-Aid here and one over here, and we do like these little sections that we fix, but none of it really works together. And so we're seeing all of our systems fail, and things are just not working.
But we have to do it with the ancient wisdom in mind.
So
like when we talk about water, the fact that water has memory from the beginning of time. The water that I drink is the water that my ancestors drank and your ancestors drank. And Jim, is it okay to mention World Water Law? I put it into the chat earlier. But
he's not. Yeah, he's not here right this second. He'll be back in a moment, but yes,
real,
it's okay.
Real quickly, I put it in the chat. I'll put it in again for those of you who came. World Water Law is really about creating an international law that is based on natural law above human law. And instead of solving water crises from communities and cities and countries and governments, it's about creating a law that's that follows in nature's footsteps that we can all walk together with. And we learn and listen from water herself. We teach people how to listen to the living waters, and we are developing an Indigenous wisdom circle for World Water Law. So I'll put that in the chat, and let me know if you want to me to want to follow up on learning more about world water law and how you can participate with a global family that's emerging, an Indigenous global family that's really exciting. Thank you.
Thank you, Janice, for mentioning that. Yeah, I think that's a very, very important thing. I was fortunate enough to be brought into helping with the World Water Law almost a year ago, and we did this event last year and an event in January that was really fascinating and just great to come together over that. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up. And Michael, I see you would like to share. Please go ahead.
Oh, thank you very much. Just go back to that aspect of the stories, and why stories travel throughout time between us and about us and in us and through us. When I was a young man, I left very young age, from about 17 going to 18. And when I went to Calgary, in the Blackfoot Hills of Alberta, I met a gentleman, and there's a few lessons that he taught me. But one of the things that he taught me about the subject of what we're talking about now, and this, why it's important to share stories, because wisdom and knowledge are both of the same coin, cannot be separated, but it transforms from physical to metaphysical, and that is that knowledge. So if I'm sitting here and I'm telling you this now, you may think, wow, that's a very wise thing that you're saying. But to me, it's just knowledge. And so this was his point on it, was that in the awe of me accepting what he was teaching me, it became knowledge to me. And the lesson that he was teaching me of that transforming the wisdom to knowledge through stories and in these ways of interacting with other humans and other relations, because you can have the same conversation with a bird or something else. But when you have that transfer, right? It is meant to be shared. Again, even if there's a subtle change in the story, because the story becomes personal, it becomes something that you are now carrying. And so when you tell it to someone else, you're giving of yourself and of the others who gave it before you. And so when you do this, it turns back into wisdom when you speak it to another person. And then when they hear it, it goes back to knowledge. And so this is the relationship that we have between our generations that is in a way broken. He was teaching me of those perspectives and ways. And another teaching that he taught me was, when I was very young, I wanted to go to the mountains. Grandfather Rock called me, and I currently live beside the beautiful mountains here, and also in the background you can see here. So when I came upon my friend, and he explained to me, he said that you have a long way to go in life. And he was my age that I am now, and I was 19 at the time. And he explained that you have a long road to go before you reach to my age. And he said, so you must choose your ruts carefully, because you will lead them the rest of your life. There's a lot of times people move in ways, and because they come comfortable in those ways, and in these ways, just like a bowling ball going down a gutter, it will stay there, or you will stay there, or that cycle will stay there until acted upon by an external force, which is, love, compassion, and these things. These are ways of treating and dealing with other people's traumas and ways of being stuck in a non-intrusive way. Another one that he taught me at the time when I met him was, when I love to know how people grew up. Like when I was a kid, I know how I grew up. And I've always, up to this day, is to be inquisitive of how you grew up. How was your childhood? What was it, and to learn from these things from other people, because this is the only way I can get to know about myself is by getting to know you. And so he was telling me that when I asked him, I said, you're so lucky to be here, growing up beside these beautiful mountains. And he was a cowboy. That's his lifestyle. His daddy was a cowboy, granddaddy cowboy. And I said, you're living on the land, and you have a horse, and you're just so connected here, and you have beautiful mountains here that you can go and see anytime you want. You can ride over there and take a lunch. And sometimes the mountains look like they're just that close that you can pack up a lunch. And so he said, I said, what beautiful times you must have growing up. And so he said, well, those things, they only get in your way when you want to go to Vancouver. And I thought, what the heck is this old fart talking about? Because I'm like 19 years old and he's my 61. And so it took me a minute to get it. He said, what it was teaching me was to see things from a different perspective, how two people can be looking at the same thing at the same time and see two different things. Not only that, he's showed me how to see it from a different perspective, but to come out from one's own perspective and to see it or create a new perspective of that same reality in that, and share that. And so these were the few lessons that were around those things. I just thought I'd pass that on to the youth or here, or whoever might see that, because that was something that was transformational and it's good foundational things for youth to know and understand as well.
Yeah, thank you for that, Michael. Thank you so much for sharing. And yeah, the different perspectives, that was a good example. And yeah, it's so important to know that to learn that there's different perspectives, and that we can have 5 people in the room, 100 people in the room, and we have 100 different ways of looking at something, right? So thank you for that.
And another thing I just want to let you know, when my grandmother, she said, there's 1,000 ways to see, but there's only one way to listen. That's what it is. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, so I see we are about at time. So I just wanted to check in before we do close, if anybody would like to bring in any closing thoughts.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
I've learned something. And I'm only new to this global talk that we're having, because we all feel we are all connected in some way or another. And I've learned something while I've been growing spiritually and walking with my ancestors, that we are all one, no matter what background, no matter what color, no matter what race, no matter what tribe, clan. And I've been learning that. See, I was always brought up because we were always different. We were different, but not in the sense how we were being taught that we were different. But as I started getting older now, and as I'm teaching the younger ones now, when I'm teaching all the even the non-Indigenous people, I've been encouraging everyone to call upon the ancestors. Because once upon a time ago, I feel that they were all one and they were all connected. And I think that's happening. This time is coming together, where we're all coming together to be that one again, you know, that we are that one as a people. And that's what they've been speaking to me about, that none of us are different, that we are all one. And I feel that the ancestors have been using me. And I heard someone mention throughout the talk that we all have different calling, and you know, and just walk in that. And you know, that really touched me when that lady was speaking about that. Sorry, I forgot what it was, but and it really touched me. And I got my booger bear for that, because it brought so much. But I just want to share that you know, as I'm out there educating, I've never seen so many black and white people come together like they are right now throughout the world. And I know that a lot of governments, they're fearing what's going on, because the truth is arising. You know, and they have no control of what's going on, because it's a spiritual shift. It's a spiritual movement, and no one can stop it. So what is going on right now, there is a spiritual shift in the atmosphere, and the ancestors and the creators, they are rising up, and they're bringing back the truth. Yes. And they're teaching the truth spiritually. So, and I've been encouraged, even the non-Indigenous, because, you know, a lot of these white folks out there, I'm not, you know, my people are just going out on a note. Sorry, Tonya. People never knew color. When my ancestors saw them coming on the boats into this country, they called them dog eyes. In my language, a dog eye is a goat. My people never knew color until we were introduced to being blacks. My people knew everything by the land, by the waters, but we never knew color until we were introduced. See, color racism was taught, color was taught. You know, we never knew. And I've been going teaching. Because a lot of these that Indigenous mob, a lot of these white folks, they have Viking blood. They are Norfolk, you know, like, and they didn't realize, but now they're starting to see it, because they're reaching to their ancestors, and they've been calling upon them to help them guide. And so now that I'm teaching out there, I'm encouraging all to call upon your ancestors, and for them to guide you, your creators, to know the truth, because I've really believed that, you know, oneness is coming back, you know, and we have no control over the situation now, neither does this government throughout the world, because, yeah, it's going to fall and the truth is arising. Sorry, I just wanted to go. No sorries, right?
Exactly.
I got a thing in this country all the time. It must be this Australian, westernized, because every time I feel like as a black person or an Indigenous person, we're always apologizing for something we haven't done.
Yeah.
Wrong. Sorry. There I go again.
Yeah, no need to apologize.
Wow.
We appreciate everything you've brought in.
Yeah, Booger Bear.
Thank you for speaking up.
And my name is Mebangari, and my Aboriginal name Mebangari means that woman eagle, you know. So I'm the woman eagle. I'm the guardian and the protector of my country. And yeah, and in my language you say garama. Garama is respect. So garama, everyone. Booger Bear.
Yeah, thank you, Cindy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else want to add any short comments? Maybe somebody who hasn't been able to speak yet since introductions.
It's a woman from Hawaii that we haven't heard from yet.
Thank you for bringing that up. And I can't see where you are. Would you like to comment?
Yes. Aloha, aloha. E kalamai, excuse me for coming in midway. I'm Lani Kama'u Yamasaki, and we're here in Waimea on Hawaii Island. And although I came into the Zoom late, I've been listening to the entire session and am so grateful for this time to see reflections of ourselves in each other. Our family comes from the Lono lineage, and Lono and Pele, and we come from a lineage of La'au Lapa'au people, so people who work with plants for healing as well as peacekeepers. I have so much to comment upon, but I know time is brief. Michael, I think we're the same age, 61. I have a similar story that from my early teens till now, my elders were always saying patience, patience. And here I am. It's like, what? How did this happen? 61. And spending my life working with water, working with our Vahipana, our sacred sites. And really, you're right, it's intergenerational learning, and Hawaii means the sacred waters of life, the sacred breath and waters of life in the highest form of divinity. And as I hear all of you speak, the power of story, especially when we look at global warming and rising sea levels, the power for us of the mo'olelo, of knowing a story, is seeing how the landscape has shifted over the time, and how these stories of our peoples can help to inform what is going on in terms of the rising waters, where the trails were, our subsistence living, how it's shifted. So there's such power in looking at the science and traditions of our peoples and looking at the modern technology. And I just want to suggest that I feel Hawaii is such a microcosm of the macrocosm, because we're the most isolated archipelago in the world. We bring in over 90% of the goods that we need to survive. And we have gone through the pandemics. We have gone through the colonization. We've gone through so much in terms of, I'm going back to what Jewel was saying, and Jody, we know what it's like to be separated from the practices and the values that tied us to the land. And what happens when that happens, when our soul begins to disintegrate, because now we're being like forced to assimilate for survival, bringing in so many of the practices, so many of the values that are foreign to us. So I hear all of you saying, I believe that this is the time when we look at what we call Aina. Aina is land and nature, but we have three Aina. We have the physical Aina, which binds us and connects us to place. We have the psychological Aina, which is our everyday dreams, visions, what we say, and how that influences our way of being in the world, what we buy into, what is appropriate, what is not, what we need to weed out to reclaim our own story and our own inner authority. And then we have the spiritual Aina, which are our everyday relationships with each other, what nurtures us, what informs us. And we know this much about Aina: what we consume, we eat. What we consume, we become. And so if you look at what we consume, we become in the physical, psychological, and spiritual realm of land and earth, I think that begins to address what many of us were talking about. How do we become whole beings again? Well, by, I feel, reclaiming the traditional practices associated with taking care of our lands. And for us, Aina means land, water, sky, all living beings. So the power of Mo'olelo, the power of story, is deep. It's deep. And so mahalo for bringing me in at this last moment. I'm so appreciative of all the learning I have received from all of you. And it truly is intergenerational. So I'm blessed. Mahalo.
Thank you so much for bringing up, for speaking and sharing your wisdom. Thank you. And Jim.
I just want to say briefly while we're here, I put my email on there. We have these circles periodically, it's intergenerational. If you want to be put on that list, which means you just get an invite to see if you want to just email me or find me on Facebook, and we'll be happy to add you. We would love to have you added, actually. This has been an incredible circle.
Yeah, and Janice, I couldn't agree with you more. Thank you for saying that in the chat. Yeah, and I think with that, we are about to close now. I want to thank everybody for being here today, for sharing from your perspectives, for sharing from the heart, for connecting with one another, and for really bridging across cultures, across the different ages, and I'm just feeling so grateful that I have been able to be a part of this circle tonight. You've all made this a very, very special evening, so thank you so much. And I do want to call on Shannon. I think she was going to finish with a prayer. Shannon, are you still with us?
I am. So, yeah, what an incredible time we had to spend together. And I'm so glad that I got to meet all of you virtually. And Jewel, you give me great hope. I'm so glad that you're walking the walk and in learning the things that you're learning. That makes me grateful to all your stories. And Lonnie, aloha, to feel that breath. So all of this has been so filling. So before we close, I'm just going to say a few words in my language, and then I'll say a few words in English, and we'll close this out for now. So just so everybody knows, somebody mentioned it in the chat, that in many of our languages, our indigenous language, there is no word for goodbye, because we understand that separation like that is only temporary. And so the most that we can say in most of our languages, until next time, until next we meet, all of those kinds of things, because we understand that. So when we leave each other, I want everybody to keep that in their minds and in their hearts. It's only until next time. It's only, and we carry that. And when we hear each other's stories, the thing about that aloha that is so important, and we're bridging that because of this virtual situation, is it's that breath, right? The breath in our stories, the breath of the exchange for what you gave to me in this little time that we spent together, for what I might have shared from where I'm from, right? So I thank you for that reciprocity and that opportunity. So Chimigwech Manito Nokomis Mishnomish, Bayanavangin Damas Wabagonis. Creator, grandmothers, grandfathers, I thank you for this opportunity to be here in this moment at this time with my other two-legged here who are on this earth walk, doing the best we can during this time to usher in a new way of being, a new way of remembering, reconnecting, and being a part of all that is. So I thank you from this place on Turtle Island and all the way over on the other part of this planet to my sisters and brothers who are in Australia and New Zealand, and to know that they and the island Pacificers, for all of the people across, that we reach out to them in our hearts and in our spaces, and know the power of our spirits as we do that, to invite them in, to become one, to understand that we are indeed in this together. So I ask Creator, grandmothers, grandfathers, and ancestors that you help us as we go into whatever it is we're doing next, wherever we're at on the planet, that we carry this with us in a place within our hearts and within our spirits, so that we can be strengthened by the knowledge that we are not alone, that we are part of a bigger family and a bigger relationship to all that is. Chimigwech Manito, Gigawabaman, until next time.
Thank you, Shannon. Okay, and with that, we can wrap it up. Thank you so much for everybody for being here tonight.